Let me ask you a question. Would you rather work a job you're really, really competent in, but you don't really love that much? Or would you rather do something that you really love, but you don't make that much money, and you might not even be that competent in that job? That's a question as old as time. Well, at least as old as when we were granted the privilege of choice. Because back then, in ancient times, people really didn't get to choose what they do. If your family grew up in a farm, you were a farmer. If your if your parents engaged in trade, then you were a merchant by default. Having options is a really recent thing, but this choice between doing something you're really competent in and doing something that you really love, it creates a lot of anxiety. People are torn when asked what exactly is the meaning of what you're doing. Well, I suppose that people who pursue what they love, they see a lot more meaning, and they want to go go fulfill their purpose that they think is the purpose of their life, their passion. Or do you choose the secondary purpose of doing something you're really good at, can make a good living? If you have a family, you can you can provide your family with stability, but you just don't like it. That question is just, it's so real. Because a lot of us, especially after working in the industry, working in a corporate job for 10 years or so, you start to consider different options and you start to question whether you're suited for the jobs that you're doing right now. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I recently started a new job. I also happened to walk past my collection of books, and the first book that I locked eyes with is this book called So Good They Can't Ignore You. And that's exactly what this book is talking about. It's basically arguing that the more competent you are at a job, the more you will like it. You will be compensated for the level of work you're putting out, your experience in doing such a thing, and you'll receive a lot of praise from other people because you are good at that thing, and you will gain a lot of respect. So it's a lot of status as well. In this channel we talk about status all the time. We're not going to go one video without talking about status, and perhaps wealth that comes along with what you're so competent in doing. And what it actually argues against is doing something that you love without having any competence in that thing you love. Or at least you're not competent enough to make a living for yourself. Because oftentimes people talk about, I want to go pursue a passion. I want to make a living off of my passion. Because the more I love this thing, the more motivation that I will get from trying to get better at said hobby. And that's kind of the other way around, the other way to argue motivation and competence. Yeah, so there's two really different ways of looking at this. Because I also asked my old boss about this. He's quite up there, definitely VP level, senior director level, and he also said that do what you love, and that will provide you a lot of fulfillment, and it will give you a lot of motivation when times are tough, and you'll be able to stick through thick and thin if you have love for the thing that you do. So that's his answer. So it's really interesting for me to now revisit and reflect on these two systems of thought, on competence and passion. But of course, you can also pursue a passion project while you are doing something you are competent in. Just that how much time you want to allocate to either. For most people, you probably have to do the thing you're competent in to make a living. And that's why it's so difficult. There's always that appeal. There's always that second option. The mind always thinks about the what ifs. What if I succeed? What if I'm able to make a living for myself after quitting a job? Well, I initially thought that I would be able to do that when I resigned from my old job, but I definitely fell into, well, not exactly a trap, but a forced cost benefit analysis of my current state in life. I don't have a successful side gig that can provide me income without doing a full-time job. And I would say that I'm more competent in in the industry that I'm working in right now compared to the things I'm passionate about, right? So this status thing and trying to teach people about buying and merchandising. This whole channel, I mostly wanted to use this channel as an opportunity to vent and to share my knowledge with people, because I do know that a lot of people are up against the same issue, the same struggles, the same lack of motivation, the same questions that keep coming up. The inner voice, your inner voice keeps asking you about the what ifs if you were to take another route. And it's up to you to make a decision on the next step. Sharing a little bit about how I stepped foot in the fashion or sportswear industry. I chose this industry initially because I was definitely interested in products, in style and fashion, in people, how people assign values to intangibles. What are these symbolic meanings behind the things that people buy? So that was an innate motivational factor for me. And I kind of went with my gut on that one, as opposed to choosing a job or industry that might have paid a lot more. For example, a lot of my friends would go into tech, go into consulting, strategy, typical high prestige jobs. But for some reason, I never thought that those jobs were meant for me to do, if you know what I'm talking about. So I did choose this job out of passion. Well, at least I'm somewhat interested in what I'm doing, in the sense that when I do go out to look at products, to visit stores, to look at competitor brands, I don't feel like it's such a burden. I don't feel like I'm doing something I really do not want to do. But over the past 10 years of working in a corporate, I did realize that I have a strong inclination towards mentoring people and teaching people and helping people and watching them grow. It gives me a lot of fulfillment. It makes me feel like I'm worth something compared to the level of fulfillment that I get when I hand over a deliverable or conduct a meeting good, or when I perform well to what is asked of me, or meeting KPIs and whatnot. The connection with people, being able to help people. So I do believe that that's something I'm good at, and that's also something I derive a lot of positive energy from. And it does motivate me to be better, to do better as a professional. Oh, I can't believe I'm saying that. Another thing that I've been thinking about is growth. People talk about growth all the time, and people switch jobs because they want more growth, because they've grown stagnant in what they've been doing for the past 1, 2, 3, however amount of years you want to, put into fill in the blank. But growth itself is very uncomfortable, and you have to be in a quite uncomfortable position to attain growth. And I do believe that that's something I am experiencing as of right now, throwing myself into an entirely different environment, a different company culture, a lot more milestones. The workload is probably going to become heavier. But after understanding what I have to do for this new role, which is essentially everything product related, but to a deeper level of detail, a more granular level, and having to piece together all the moving parts to run a specific part of a brand, that's definitely something valuable. But for me, I adapt to new environments slower, or at least compared to how fast I expect I should adapt to an environment, because I have pretty high standards for myself. And oftentimes, joining a new company, you have to meet a lot of people en masse. It's like 10, 20 people at a time. They're just filling you with a lot of information that you will have to know down the line. It's a lot of stuff. And I do grow anxious a lot of times, and I do find it hard to speak, especially in a group of more than 3 people. I'm perfectly comfortable in a group with less than 3 people, and I'm really good at one-on-ones. Most comfortable with one-on-ones, but when it comes to groups of 3+ participants, then it's pretty difficult for me to act like myself. If you have the same experience as an introvert, although I don't feel like I'm the most introverted person out there, but those signs do show, especially when I enter a completely new environment. And that level of discomfort is really real. And oftentimes it converts itself into physical discomfort. My back starts becoming a little sore, so I have to stretch it out when I get home, 30-minute stretches before I go to bed to ease out the tension, which is quite interesting. The amount of tension that you receive at the cognitive level, it transforms itself, it converts itself into physical discomfort. I remember my cousin who went to a Vipassana silent retreat. She told me that she had to meditate in a set position for I think more than 5 hours a day, and you just have to sit with the discomfort of your body, because if you sit in just one position for a long period of time, your body becomes super sore. So I asked her, why don't you just stretch it out? She said that if I stretch it out, then I will be releasing the tension that my body is feeling. But what I am trying to do is to live with that tension. To live with that tension and power through. And that I will remember for the rest of my life. Because it is what we have to do as human beings. If you think that from a Buddhist perspective, life is suffering. And you have to just learn to live with discomfort, physical discomfort, and pain if you want to live on. I will still stretch. I will still stretch because I need to release that stuff at the end of the day to sleep better. But that's a pretty good takeaway. I hope this resonates with whoever's listening. You're definitely not alone out there. We're all living with discomfort, with things that we're competent in, and things that we really love. So in the future, I'll be honing in on my love of sharing and teaching and mentoring people. So I'll be opening up another channel to talk about buying and merchandising somewhere down the line in the future. And I'll just leave this channel as a channel where I talk to the camera and I mumble shit to myself, because it is pretty helpful. You guys should also try it out. Yeah, you do feel a sense of relief after speaking to a camera for freaking 21 minutes. But yeah, try it out and see if you like it. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.